Lots of people are doing the same as me and insulating their home so they use less expensive energy. In March 2023, the previous government launched
the Great British Insulation Scheme.
Households can apply to their energy supplier for insulation grants, which the supplier then recoups from the government. The scheme had ambitions to help around 300,000 low-income or energy-inefficient households with some or all costs of insulating their homes. But we're now halfway through the second winter since its launch, and figures suggest that only 10% of the 300,000 homes have had their insulation installed. Someone left disappointed by the scheme is Stuart Patterson from Richmond in Yorkshire.
Our house is an end of terrace that's expensive to heat. It's so inefficient that it immediately qualified, bearing in mind that external wall insulation, which is really the only one our house is compatible with, is really expensive.
So what happened once you contacted them?
So I applied in September 2023, didn't hear anything back from EDF until I chased them in May. They said my details had definitely been passed on to the local supplier. I chased them, they said they hadn't, and it was the better part of a year later and nothing had happened.
Has anybody been out to look at your property?
They did eventually send around a guy to do a quick survey. He immediately said, oh, we can't do external wall insulation under the scheme. It is really frustrating because we waited so many months during which nothing was happening at all, when we could have been thinking about getting the house more prepared for winter.
A government scheme offering cash grants that you can't get your hands on. What's going on? I'm meeting Jess Ralston, head of the Energy and Climate Intelligence Unit, which conducts research on energy and climate issues.
Government policy in this area has been very choppy and changing all the time over the past decade or so, and the industry therefore doesn't have very much trust in the schemes, so they're not investing in it.
I've just spoken to somebody whose supplier said they don't do the insulation that he wants.
The scheme is quite complex. The energy suppliers want to do it as cheaply as they can, the installers want to do a good job and make as much money as they can, and that can mean that even though in some areas they do support certain types of insulation, in other areas they might not.
So it becomes a little bit of a postcode lottery.
Exactly, and really government has a role in making sure that that doesn't happen.
The Great British Insulation Scheme is still running, and while the process can be complicated, around 24,000 homes have received insulation. So for a little time and effort, it may be worth exploring. In the meantime, if you are dreading how big your energy bills are going to be, there are some things you can do to keep warm and save money. I've come to meet Pearl. Hello there. Who is unsure what more she can do to lower her energy costs.
So, I mean, everything's going up and we have to worry about whether you can manage.
Do you get the winter fuel allowance?
I don't qualify for it this year, so along with all the other things that are going up, it's going to be a struggle, but...
Have you ever looked into any of the government schemes that are there to help you?
Yes, and I did apply. The complex as a whole didn't qualify because it's a serviced complex.
And so what's it like in the winter here?
First 2 winters when I moved here were absolutely awful. They were so cold. I ended up huddled in a ball in the bed crying because I was so freezing cold.
To help Pearl nudge that temperature up, I've enlisted the expertise of Mark Foster, a green doctor from the environmental charity Groundwork UK. He's starting in the bedroom. Mark, you've got a laser thermometer there. Can we take a temperature reading of this room?
Yeah, of course we can. And it'll just give an indication of what the room temperature is at the moment, and it's showing 18.5 degrees.
A comfortable temperature. However, could Pearl be heating the room more efficiently?
Underneath the window, we've got a nice double radiator.
I'm touching it here, it's on, but it's a bit colder at the top.
So there's an air block where the water isn't circulating around as much as possible. So what we can do is actually bleed that radiator from the side and it will allow the air to come out.
It's making the radiator work more efficiently.
Absolutely, yes. Also, what we can do is actually put some foil behind the radiator.
Reflective radiator foil can be picked up for as little as £10 a roll. Mark cuts a sheet to size and rests it on the brackets at the back of the radiator.
It's brilliant. It's a simple thing, but it's so effective.
The foil stops heat energy being lost into the external wall by reflecting the heat back into the room. And while Mark and Pearl check for further savings on her energy tariffs, I found the key to radiator efficiency.
I've turned the heating off now and it's completely cold. So you need to get yourself a radiator key. They're a couple of quid from your DIY store. And there's a little valve opening at the side, which this key fits into perfectly. And what you do, you open the valve up. See, you turn it to the left and you'll hear a hissing sound as the air escapes. As soon as you see any water coming out of that valve, you close it up, and that means you've fully bled your radiator. Make sure you got yourself a little cloth to catch any drips.
Back in the living room, Pearl is getting cold feet.
Do you like my socks? Do you know, people know me so well. This is what they buy me for Christmas. Warmers for the door and warmers for my feet. This basically comes from somewhere down here at the bottom of the door. I have put extra carpet down.
Now, you've done the right thing, but I can see you've actually got a gap. It's registering 13.7. 18 is a comfortable temperature, so we are 5 degrees below that.
Mark installs insulation tape along the edge of the door, another cheap, simple fix which instantly reduces the draft. And our changes to the radiators are already making a difference.
It feels warmer already.
It is, I can feel it now. Very much so. It's certainly working. Let me just see what the temperature is. And it's already 20 degrees. So, yes, what you've done, what I've done, it's brilliant, made it a difference.
Yeah.
With the radiator working more efficiently, Mark can turn down its thermostat, reducing its energy output and saving Pearl up to £45 a year on her energy bills. Mark also installs LED bulbs, which could save Pearl up to £25 a year, and turns down the boiler flow temperature because the boiler is heating up the water supply to a higher temperature than the radiators. Lowering the boiler temperature will make the system more efficient, which could save Pearl up to £100 a year.
We've only been here a couple of hours tweaking a few little things, but already we've noticed there's a difference in the temperature of the rooms. How exciting is that?
I know, that's fantastic. Yeah, I can feel my legs are warm already.
Initiatives like the Great British Insulation Scheme have the right intentions, although there is some issues with its rollout. And if you are waiting for your insulation, or like Pearl, you're not eligible, hopefully we've given you some top tips to stay warm this winter.